Devin Booker and Kevin Durant have been amazing, but it's becoming obvious why they won't win the title. With 6 minutes left in Game 3 against Denver, DeAndre Ayton goes for the layup, stopped by Jamal Murray. Look at how wild it is to see a point guard stuff a 7-footer. Then on the other end, Ayton grabs the Jokic miss, but immediately turns it over. Then instead of defending, he lets Jokic easily score. So Coach Monty Williams subbed out a max contract Ayton for minimum contract Jock Landale, who was better. Ayton does have good moments, but for a max player, his low spots are strange. After the game, people said, Ayton is legit sad. Suns can't win a championship with this version of DeAndre Ayton, but Jock Landale was having none of it.
I'm kind of sick of hearing about everyone shitting on him non-stop. DA's been great for us. Who said anything about DA coming up to me and being like, you know what, like, I'm going to take myself out of my own situation here and encourage me a lot more. DA is the first dude off that bench to stand up and clap, and that speaks volume about his character, but people seem to just totally forget about that.
That is a great speech about a teammate, but people forget about his character when he's pouting on the sideline, leaving Chris Paul hanging. That's almost as bad as when Phil Jackson tried to dap up Kobe, but ended up playing it off like no one would notice. Nice try, Phil. But Ayton ditched the media after the game when his team won. You would think Jock Landale, a team player, wouldn't care so much about him being benched because the team won. Oh, he said all the right things the next day, but it is obvious what the problem is. But it wasn't always like this. DeAndre Ayton was actually on the come up, a beast in their finals run, but suddenly fell off. What happened? But first, today's sponsor is So Rare. Guys, thank you so much for joining my private NBA league. We are well over 2,000 people right now, but we are all playing the So Rare NBA Playoffs tournament. It is a cumulative tournament, so all of your points count through the last week of the playoffs. Let's check in on how I did last week. Look, I haven't been doing that great, but this week, I am in around the 50,000th, which I know sounds bad, but for me, it's actually pretty good. I had Chris Paul in my lineup. I was hoping that he would come back early because I really don't have anyone to replace him. But this week, Jaylen Brown, because honestly, he's the best player that I still have playing. I think it's going to go to a Game 7. Caleb Martin, who's been playing well and getting playing time for the Miami Heat. Dennis Schroeder, we're due for a big Dennis Schroeder game. Isaiah Hartenstein on the Knicks, and Duncan Robinson. You guys need to jump in and play So Rare with me. It's free, first of all, and it's fantasy basketball, but with digital player cards that are officially licensed by the NBA. It is super fun, and if you click the link in the description to sign up, you get 20 free common cards to get you started. So they drafted him number 1 in 2018 over Marvin Bagley, Luka, Jaren Jackson, and Trae Young. Why? Because the Suns needed a point guard and a center. Ayton played college a few miles from Phoenix, and the scouts weren't sure about Luka, so Ayton was the safe pick. You know, how do you mess up being 7 feet tall? But being the number 1 pick over Luka became a curse. In the bubble, stars dominated the playoffs, but Ayton averaged just 12 points their last 4 games, less than Cameron Payne. So people started to wonder, does Ayton have that kind of killer instinct? But that offseason, Phoenix signed Chris Paul, who unlocked Ayton's potential. Yes, he averaged 14 points and 11 boards, but Ayton shot 63% with improved defense. Oh, and that clutch instinct? The Suns were down Game 2 in the West Finals with 0.9 left. Ayton muscles past Ivica Zubac, throws down the game winner.
Crowder looking, throws it alley-oop. Oh! Ayton puts it down!
Nothing timid about that. Ayton had a killer instinct, put Phoenix up 2-0. They won the series in 6. He averaged 19 points and 22 boards with 4 blocks. Defended Anthony Davis in round 1, Nikola Jokic in round 2. The Suns were on the verge of winning their first title against the Bucks, but in Game 4, under 2 minutes to play, Suns had a chance to tie. Could take a commanding 3-1 lead in the series. Ayton hands off to Booker, rolls to the basket, but Giannis blocks him out of nowhere.
Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo! What a block from Giannis!
That was the turning point in the series, and the Bucks came back to win the chip. Every Sun was devastated after the loss, except DeAndre Ayton.
You know, I'm just really happy how the guys, had a a wonderful season, playing together to bring us, to get us where we are today.
So why was he so happy there? Because dude was about to get paid. Other 2018 rookies were getting the max, like Luka, Trey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, even Michael Porter Jr., but none of them went to the finals.
This is a significant development. I'm told that the DeAndre Ayton extension talks have ended without a deal.
No deal.
What? A lot of people called the owner cheap after that, but it was the right decision. You don't pay DeAndre Ayton just because he was the #1 pick. That would be doubling down on your mistake. Yes, they went to the finals. Let's be honest about their finals run. Anthony Davis injured in round 1. They beat the Nuggets without Jamal Murray. Round 3, no Kawhi for the Clippers. Then in the finals, Ayton gets dominated by Giannis. And you could say, well, Ayton's just in his 3rd year, but he's not a superstar. He gives them like a low double-double. That is Vita Zubac's Kevon Looney production. Good player, but not a max contract. And they were right, because the next year he was a non-factor against the Mavericks. Dallas had no one to match up, but Ayton was still timid. It got so bad, Monty Williams benched him in Game 7, scoring just 5 points. Then he refused to go back in the game. One report said the coach told DeAndre, "You quit on us." So that offseason, the Suns tried to trade Ayton for Kevin Durant, but the Nets didn't want him. They tried to find a sign and trade partner, but the Pacers swooped in with a 4-year max deal, and the Suns matched it. Not because they wanted to match it, but because they had to. They couldn't lose him for nothing. Now, you got this dude who knows his team doesn't really want him. He doesn't talk to the coach all offseason. They're getting in shouting matches during the year. Remember when Ayton left Chris Paul hanging? Imagine being this poor dude trying to do a team chant after that argument. Read the room, dude. So in these playoffs, Ayton goes through spells where he just gives up. Settles for mid-range jumpers against Nikola Jokic on one end, then just, stands out of bounds and watches Joker go for the rebound. When Ayton was motivated to get a max contract, he played well in the playoffs with a good attitude after they lost. But now he is inconsistent because he feels disrespected. There's a forgotten quote from before he was drafted when Ayton was asked about what success in the NBA looks like. Definitely getting to my 2nd contract. That's my success. Uh-oh. So to fix this issue, the Suns must look at a trade, and the blueprint is Russell Westbrook. When Russ was overpaid on the Lakers, it caused issues in the locker room and on the court. So they turned one big contract into multiple role players. Then they did a separate deal to get Rui Hachimura, and overnight they fixed the roster. If Phoenix can find a spot for Ayton, they can get depth and chemistry. So the Mavericks get DeAndre Ayton for Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, and a 1st-round pick. And by the way, they will need a center. Naz Reid is a free agent. They could give him the mid-level exception. He broke out this year while Karl Anthony Towns was injured. And why would any team trade for DeAndre Ayton? Because he's 24 years old, and he's shown before that he can be productive, so teams can talk themselves into it. And hey, if the Timberwolves traded the farm to get Rudy Gobert, never say never. But if a ton of money is being allocated to a player who doesn't even want to be there, the Suns will not win the chip. But this rumor about Giannis leaving Milwaukee is even spicier. I listened to the rumor because Brian Windhorst threw it out there, and he's usually right on things, but there is one thing that Windhorst got wrong. Check it out.